Hey guys, what's up and welcome to an unboxing of the Retina 5K iMac. Now, I've been umming and ahhing about buying this machine literally since it came out, but I decided to bite the bullet and just go for it. So this is the quad-core i7, 4GHz model, the 4790K. We'll just turn it around here, and this has a 5K panel. Now, I'm going to just start unboxing it here. It has a really cool box opening mechanism, but Apple does scaling a little bit differently to Microsoft, or Windows I guess, in the fact that it works. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. So this is the included mouse and keyboard, so you get the Apple wireless Magic Mouse and the Apple wireless keyboard, which is pretty cool. So we'll put these away, just because they're not too important. We'll get back to them later. And we'll start unboxing the machine. So we'll take the top layer off and we'll lift it out of its box. Okay, so I'm going to try and not stand it in front of the camera too much just because of the way the lighting is set up. But here it is. As you can see, it's got that really thin 5mm bezel like they advertise quite a lot. But we'll start unpeeling the packaging. Now, the reason I bought this, I'm going to go through it whilst we're unveiling it, is literally because I've gone through the stage of being a fanboy of Apple and all their computers. That was about 4 years ago. I then got to the stage of being a fanboy of PC components and all of their goodness. And then I got into the sort of do-it-yourself kind of trend, where I literally, if you could buy a Mac, I would make a Hackintosh every day of the month. But I've now hit the stage where I want it to work. I just want something to work. And this is, in my opinion, the best machine you can buy that is a Mac and that works. You can buy the Mac Pro, but you don't get a monitor and it's super expensive. You can buy a Mac Mini, but you don't get a monitor and it's quite underpowerful. Or you can buy a MacBook Pro, which I already have, and it's not exactly a desktop replacement laptop. So we'll take all of this off. Now, if you don't understand what the name, the Retina 5K iMac means, it's what it says on the tin. It is a 5K IPS display. Apple have made their own scaler to go on this display, so it doesn't use DisplayPort, it doesn't use HDMI or anything like that. They use their own kind of scaling standard that they developed themselves. I don't really care that much about it. So here it is. Here is the 27-inch 5K iMac. Like I said, this is the 4GHz quad-core i7 model, and all I'm going to do now is set it up and show you why this machine is actually so important. Okay, so I have the most temporary setup ever going here, so I'm going to boot up the machine for the first time. So that booted really quickly. This is the 256GB of flash storage. I didn't get the 1TB Fusion drive just because I think I much prefer the flash. So using English for the main language. Okay, so I'm going to select United Kingdom, British keyboard layout. Don't transfer any information now, and I'm just going to sign in with my Apple ID. So to do that, I might want to turn my keyboard on. That could help. There you go. So I'm getting lots of notifications now from all of my devices saying, hey, this PC is trying to use your Apple ID, which is rather annoying, but pretty cool to be honest. Won't set up iCloud keychains, I've never used it. Not going to share any diagnostics data because... and let it set up my Mac for first time use. Okay, so here we are on my Mac desktop. Now, like I said earlier, this is a 5K display, but as you can see, you can actually still read icons and stuff. The way that this is done is they do literal pixel doubling, so every 1 pixel now has 4 sub-pixels inside of it. That's how Apple's kind of scaling works, and the sort of thing that Windows can't really do because it relies on application developers actually implementing it into their software. So what I'm going to do is go up to About This Mac, and you can see the specs here. So as you can see, I have an iMac Retina 5K 27-inch, late 2014, 4GHz Intel Core i7 processor, only 8GB of RAM, because I don't upgrade that myself, and an R9 M290X with 2GB of video memory. Okay, so I thought I'd run a couple of benchmarks. I wasn't going to do this, but I thought I will anyway. You can see this running a 4790K CPU, so it is overclockable, but we're not going to overclock it in this. 8 gigs of normal 1600MHz DDR3 RAM. I'm just going to run Geekbench 3. Geekbench 3 is just a little open sort of platform benchmarking test that will give you a number at the end, and you can compare that between Android, iOS, Windows, Linux, or OS X. So you can compare this to your Windows PC at home. If you go and download the 64-bit version, or you go and buy the 64-bit version of Geekbench, you'll be able to compare it to this iMac. The same with your phone, the same with your iPad. Okay, so the benchmark is finished, and we got a multi-core score of 16,704 and a single core score of 4,280. Now, comparing this to my 6-core PC workstation, that gets about 26,000 multi-core score and about the same single-core score. But compared to my old Hackintosh, that got about 3,000 single-core score, sorry, and about 11,000 multi-core score. So it is a huge improvement, and it's got a 5K display. Let's be honest, that's the only reason I really bought it. Okay, so I may as well run a couple of Cinebench tests. So I'm first going to run the OpenGL test, and it's going to test the graphics performance of the N290X, and after that I'll run the CPU test to test the 4790. Okay, so I'm running the CPU score, and I thought this was quite funny. On the 5K display, everything that is a full resolution image is actually displayed in full resolution when possible. So this image here is actually in full resolution, and it's been scaled down so much because of this 5K display that it's tiny, and I thought that was really funny. I thought I'd show it on camera. So the OpenGL score was 107.32 FPS, and if we just wait a few seconds, the CPU score will come in. But that 107 FPS compares with a 5770 that got 57 FPS, 460 that got 59 FPS. That's all that's here on the side, but you know, it's a pretty good score, I think. On the CPU score, we got 796. I don't really know what 796 means in relativity to anything else. I know that my workstation got around 1600 on the CPU score, so nearly double that. But all the same, it is still a powerful machine. By no doubt, it's as powerful as your 4790K you have in your custom-built, PC workstation. But it just isn't overclocked. Now, I simply couldn't leave this video without showing you the Retina display in all its glory. As you can see, how sharp and crisp text is. Now, if I put my finger next to this, you'll see how big it is, and still, it looks so fine. Even the camera's having issues with the kind of the grid that the display uses. Okay, now the good thing about Apple and their OS is that because it's so locked down, which a lot of people use as a criticism or a kind of dig at Apple, things like this Retina display are possible. Now you can chuck a 5K resolution at your PC quite well actually. If you use 2 DisplayPort cables, you can run 5K no problem. Graphically, it's going to be a lot more demanding. Things like games aren't going to be practical. But if you try and use it day to day with web browsing, things like icons and text are going to be tiny, absolutely minute, exactly half the size of what is on an iMac. What Apple do is literally every 1 pixel, they put 4 inside that. So you get 4 times the kind of fineness of an image for every 1. Hence the 2560x1440 has been doubled to 5K instead of them going just for 4K, which would have made everything huge, like a 1080p 27-inch monitor. Okay, so that's been it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the quick unboxing and look at the 5K Retina iMac. Now, just to clarify, this is the 4GHz i7 model, which does cost a bit extra. I also selected the 256GB flash storage option instead of the 1TB Fusion drive. So they're the only changes that I made, but still, this is an amazing piece of technology, given that Dell's 5K monitor is like $2,500 on its own. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about this like, I've got to say monitor, but this machine, then please feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll try and get back to them, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.